Well, tomorrow the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in a case about whether Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland is violating the Constitution by not allowing parents to opt their children out of a policy.
I want to say that so y'all don't think like, oh, the parents are coming in here trying to change the curriculum, or the parents want the books not even in the schools. No, the parents simply want to sign a little piece of paper that says if you're going to be talking about this, we'll keep the kids home that day. That's all. That's all they're fighting for.
That requires teachers to read students at least one book a year focused on LGBTQ+ teen themes and diversity.
It is no longer, see, now they done gone past just the books being in the library. You see how fast that went? First it was, oh, you're just in the library. Calm down, parents. No, they done gone way past that. No, these books are being used for instruction. Welcome to another episode of the Keisha King Show. I am your host, Keisha King Benton. We have the Supreme Court who is hearing cases on LGBTQ books in the classroom. Now, y'all know that is, that's what kind of got me started politically. Education. My own children were being asked inappropriate questions in public school. I had to pull mine out. We'll get more into that. I want you guys to understand something before I play the rest of this. This is simply to opt out. That's all they want to do. They want to opt out of when they're going to be reading books on LGBTQ stuff. That's all they want to do.
In the largest school district in Maryland, a dispute over books, gender, and religion is pitting families against each other in a case now coming before the Supreme Court. At issue, a policy by Montgomery County Public Schools that does not allow parents to opt their children out of lessons that use these books and feature LGBTQ+ themes, including same-sex love stories and transgender characters. In 2023, a group of parents who are Muslim, Catholic, and Ukrainian Orthodox filed a lawsuit saying the school policy violates their First Amendment rights to freedom of religion. But the policy has been upheld by lower courts. The case is bringing a heated national debate to this community.
The Islamic faith and numerous other faiths, we believe that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Wael El-Kasheri, a Muslim parent, has pulled his 9-year-old daughter out of the school system and is now homeschooling her. He is not part of the lawsuit, but has been organizing protests against the policy.
I'm responsible for my child, and I want the accommodations to make sure that that child is raised in an ecosystem that I believe does not contradict my religious beliefs.
Jeffrey Gans and his husband, Dennis Williams, support the school's policy.
You may not agree with homosexuality, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So by removing a child from the classroom, it's sending a totally negative message to that other child in that classroom who might be struggling with their identity.
If I could have had a book like that when I was young, it would make all the difference in the world.
El-Kasheri says he doesn't want the school system to change his curriculum, just to allow him to opt out, though he thinks some of the books are not age appropriate for students.
Children at a young age are very impressionable.
Eric Baxter, a lawyer for the parents suing, plans to argue the case before the High Court.
The Supreme Court has long said that...
I'm sorry, I had to stop it right there, but LGBTQ book in school would have helped you tremendously. To what exactly? What exactly would you being, I don't know, a 5-year-old that helps you in your being gay? Okay, here, let me just say what I'm trying to say. I didn't need a book to tell me, that boys and girls like each other, they kiss, they get married. I didn't need a book to tell me that. I didn't need a book. I really didn't even need a book to tell me, sexual, how sex works. Because it's kind of like, you kind of know, you might not know all the details, but you kind of know because it's natural. It's a natural thing that we go through as human beings. But that's not how God created it to be. I'm sorry to say, it doesn't mean that, we don't treat you with kindness and respect. Um, it doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that you don't deserve rights, equal rights. But why do we want to talk about sex with little kids? Because quite frankly, I don't even want heterosexual sex talked to with 5-year-olds. I don't. I pulled my children out. So these comments are really for parents whose children are still in public school. And you have to think about these things, because what this is doing, it's really putting before the public, society, American society, what your rights are as a parent and what your rights aren't when you give them over to a government institution. Because I'm not trying to be harsh, but you are giving your children over to a government system. You can't put your beliefs on everybody like you would want to. And then you can't demand that the school does it just because it's a public school. So if the law says this is what we're going to teach, then your kids are going to be subject to these lessons. You may not like it. This is a harsh reality for a lot of us who are Christians. I heard Vodi Bakum say this once. He said, you can't send your kids to to Caesar and expect them not to come home speaking like Romans. Yeah, we send our kids to these government indoctrination camps. That's what I call them, for 5 days a week, 7 to 8 hours a day for 13 years. And we think that they're not going to be influenced or indoctrinated by somebody else's values. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. These schools are like prison wards. These kids are out of control. That's something that we have to realize, especially as believers. They are getting extremely radical in the schools. I listened to the Supreme Court hearings on this case. The teachers, the school, the attorney for the schools, they're saying, no, this is instruction. They have turned the books into instruction material. They are saying, see, this is what they said. They said, we're using the books to instruct on how to be kind, how to be inclusive, how to accept different walks of life.
Second, these books are being used in English class.
The division between English class and other things in a second grade classroom doesn't really exist. You're sort of in a room with a teacher, and sometimes
I appreciate that. I went to second grade too. Yeah. But it's part of the English curriculum that these books are being used in. I thought that was.
Yeah, I'm not fighting the premise. I'm just saying that
it's not the math class. It is not. It's not the human sexuality class.
It is certainly not the human sexuality class. Yeah. I'm just sort of fighting the premise that there's a neat distinction.
Okay, and they're being used in English language instruction at age 3. Some of them.
And at the end of some of these books, they made the children, and these are not 16, 17-year-old kids. These are like second graders, because the book was like, some of the books titles were like, Pride Puppy. So that gives you the kind of sense of, the type of books. They were for little kids. Check this out, though. They had to go, the kids, the students, had to, at the end of the lesson, they had to go and identify the drag queen, identify different, feathers and feather boas and all kind of stuff. Yes.
So Pride Puppy was the book that was used for the pre-kindergarten curriculum. That's no longer in the curriculum.
That's the one where they are supposed to look for the leather and things and bondage, things like that.
It's not bondage. It's a woman in a leather.
Sex worker, right?
No, that's not correct. No.
I read it.
It's a drag queen.
Drag queen and drag
correct.
queen.
The leather that they're pointing to is a woman in a leather jacket. And one of the words is drag queen in the search.
And they're supposed to look for those.
It is an option at the end of the book, correct?
Yeah, okay. You've included these in the English language curriculum rather than the human sexuality curriculum. to influence students. Is that fair? That's what the district court found. Do you agree
I
with
think
that?
to the extent the district court found that it was to influence them towards civility. The natural consequence of being exposed
Whatever, but to influence them.
in the manner that I just mentioned, yes.
Okay. And responding to parents who are concerned, you agree that there was some intemperate language used?
I don't know that those were responding to parents who were concerned. This was after the fact.
Giving about the statement that some Muslim families, it's unfortunate that this issue puts some Muslim families on the same side of an issue as white supremacists and outright bigots. I think in response to Justice Sotomayor, you're trying to give some context to that?
I don't think I was speaking directly about that comment. I think that comment was given or was made in June, which was several months after the decision to withdraw the opt-outs.
I am telling you, in not too short of a time, they're going to be advocating for, how do I say this in a YouTube friendly way? People that like young people, they're going to be advocating for that too. And I know some of y'all out there think that I'm being radical myself when I say that, but it's already happening. They are already being vocal that these people shouldn't be ostracized in society. It's just a preference. That's just a preference that they have.
Schools aren't there to impose one ideological view, that we learn to get along by respecting each other's views. And that's all we're asking for here.
Montgomery County Public Schools did not respond to our multiple requests for comment. But in court documents, the school district said teachers are not permitted to enforce a particular viewpoint or ask students to change how they feel.
If we allow kids to opt out of this curriculum, of these books, where do we draw the line? Do we opt out of teaching about religion to my children because I don't want them to learn about a religion different than mine?
Now the 6-3 conservative majority Supreme Court.
See, here's the thing. I was dedicated to listening to this whole almost 3-hour Supreme Court because I wanted to hear what in the world would the defense be to not want parents to opt out. So here's the tea for y'all. Because they had an opt out. Now this was in the DC area. They had a opt out before. Here's the tea though. Most of the parents didn't show up for school. They don't want it. I swear it is like, so these are Catholic, Christian, Jews, and Muslims. Like predominantly, like who would have ever thought we could all bring all these people together? Well, we finally have managed to do that with this, with books. These people have been fighting for centuries. Who knew that all we had to do was throw some little LGBTQ books up there and then, who would have thunk? But no, this is why they're pressing so hard. They have to force the parents to do it, because when they offer the opt-out, most parents opt out. Oh my gosh, because most parents don't want their kids learning about gay freaking sex at freaking school, especially when the kids can't even read. Not saying it particular in Montgomery schools, but let's just be honest. Schools all over America are tanking when it comes to reading, math, and all the major academics. They're tanking, okay? But that's why they don't want the opt-out. It's because most parents are opting out. And so look at these fools up here. They want to force your child to listen to this.
Religion different than mine?
Now the 6-3 conservative majority Supreme Court will have the final say.
You know, when I got into this fight, 2017, I mean, I didn't pull my kids out until 2021, I guess. But just God awakening me to what was happening politically, leaving the left, leaving the Democrat Party and all that stuff. I didn't see a lot of this stuff at first. Like, you don't see it. Deception, it blinds you from truth. And then when like truth is presented to you, it's hard to see it because you've been so brainwashed and indoctrinated into one way of thinking, that when the truth is presented to you, it seems so wrong and far off that you don't even recognize it. And so that's why I'm so dedicated to telling the truth and accepting the truth, no matter how hard it is for me to hear, because if it's true, then it's just true. Like, I don't want to be a person just walking around believing lies because it makes me uncomfortable. Like, this is the next generation we're talking about here. Like, you can't just put on blinders and pretend like this stuff is fine. Like Miss Graves said, this is what got us here. Us being like, well, live and let live. Like, let's just do it. Let people do whatever they want to do. No, I'm sorry. People doing whatever they want to do. I'm not saying force it on them, but being quiet about it and people doing whatever they want to do is what has gotten us here in the first place. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. All the new subscribers. Thank you. It means a lot. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.